Three friends, one amazing series of YA novels, an insatiable thirst to relive the glory that is K.A. Applegate's literary masterpiece. This is Animorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
Hello and welcome to the Dork-Bajir Chronicles, a podcast where we read through the Animorphs series one book at a time and talk about it every week. Today we'll be talking about Animorphs number 29, The Sickness. My name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden. Come on, get down with the sickness. Come on, get down with the sickness.
Nice. Now that's the only time we can make that reference. Otherwise, they can kill us.
Did we tell that joke when we introduced before about this book? I feel like we must have.
We definitely did. Multiple times already, for sure. Okay, first, before the summary, let's do two quick pieces of fan mail.
Fan mail! Ooh, yeah! Fan mail! Ooh, yeah!
First piece of fan mail comes from @theslan on Twitter, who talks about how, I haven't seen it yet, but the semi-recently released Venom movie was reminiscent, or like had the same feel as what a Yerk infestation probably feels like. It's not the first person to say that, and in fact, we had a conversation with Anyanka on the Patreon Discord about how she felt that it was pretty similar. Bromance between, I guess, two men?
Not just a bromance, but full-on romance. And I think they actually recut a trailer for the Venom movie. Be like, this holiday season, curl up with and with all the cutesy font and stuff, and then it's the Venom movie. So,
Yeah.
Sorry, what is a bromance then?
A bromance is two dudes who are friends, and they're actually good friends, and they'll talk about their emotions and help each other out through hard times.
Oh, so like an urban legend kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
okay.
cry not just in the shower.
Oh my god, unheard of. Next piece of fan mail from @PaulMichaelLeary on Twitter. And he is also rereading, or I guess reading maybe for the first time, the Animorphs series, and had a question about whether or not Yerk could survive without Kandrona if they infested a morpher and then nothlited. And guess what? We learn the answer to that in this book, don't we?
Ba, ba, ba.
Do we?
I mean, sort of.
We do. Yeah, no.
They
Spoilers.
become a morpher.
Spoilers.
They don't infest a morpher.
They don't need
That's a good
Kandrona,
point.
but either way, I feel like they wouldn't need Kandrona. Like, if
We
you
can talk about
nothlit it,
that.
you don't need it anymore because you're no longer a Yerk. It's like you wouldn't eat people food if you found yourself nothlited as a red-tailed hawk. You wouldn't eat bread.
It raises other questions of just what even happens when you morph as a host, right? I guess we don't really know the answer to that.
That would suck if you got infested and then nothlited into something.
I'm almost 100% certain that the Yerks who do get into morphers, they maintain control while they maintain their Yerk body while the controller is an animal. So
No, you can't though, right?
They both zoop out into Z-space.
They would have to both swoop out into Z-space because what if they morph an ant that just kills the Yerk then?
Exactly.
So there must be something about the technology that transfers to something fused to your brain. We can talk about this later though, because we should get into the summary, which will be done by Braden this week.
So we open up with a pretty classic goof. Rachel and Cassie overhear some horny teen bitches talking about asking Jake to the dance. And Rachel, in classic Rachel fashion, whips out a switchblade and just starts fucking going to town on one of their thumbs. It's just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, bitch. That's my girl, Cassie's boy. Also my cousin. Fuck off. And this girl just like, my fucking thumb. Well, you and Jake should hang out so people know you're together then, weirdo. Rachel puts away her switchblade and is like, that is a fair point, actually. Cassie, you and Jake must go to the school dance tonight and hang out and have a nice, wholesome dance with plenty of room for Jesus.
Also, Yahweh? What's the Jewish god?
Yahweh is a.
I thought
not
you were
to
trying
get
to
into
pronounce
it.
Yowie, and I was like, no, that's two boys, Mikhail.
It's a bromance.
Not to get into it too deep, but Yahweh is the name that God gave to. Oh, who's the one who saw him in a burning bush? Was that Moses?
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yahweh was the name that God told Moses when he first saw him in the burning bush.
Okay, so it's Jewish faith then. So I was right.
They go to this school dance and they take Axe along, and he is slick as fuck, and he tells a girl, "Of course, you may not have my body," which is I think I might have like skipped a paragraph or something because I didn't. Was that a reference he didn't understand? I didn't actually get that.
What reference?
It was like
The girl flirting with him, and Mark was like,
Yes.
"Oh, she wants your body," and
That's what
Axe
it
is
was.
just like, "Wait, what?" And Marco means that she wants to put her tongue in his mouth, but Axe thinks that she's a yerk. So like, Axe is when the girl comes up and tosses her hair and says, "Hey, new boy," Axe is like, "I would love to shuffle my artificial hooves to this music with you, but you cannot have my body. You cannot have
Who
my
could
bow.
be this
D.
stupid? Who is this
You
stupid?
cannot
Like,
have my bow. D."
Oh my god. I
An
hate
English second language speaker, Mikhail, you fucking racist.
Yeah, Mikhail, fuck.
Jesus,
Lay
fuck.
off him.
it. First of all, he's not an English second language speaker
He's an immigrant to this country, Mikhail. Lay off him.
in the truest sense. An alien. Yeah, fair enough. Anyways,
Axe gets to some dancing, and everyone's actually like, "Oh, look at Axe cutting a rug. Hot damn. Yowza, 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 bowza." And then Axe starts growing his eye stalks in the middle of the dance, and they're like, wait a minute. That's not... Oh, no. They get him out of there before everybody really sees what's going on with him. Axe, this is where we begin our A plot. Axe starts acting funny, sort of like he's demorphing in the middle of every, like, just uncontrollably. It turns out they bring him away. They get escorted by Mr. Tidwell, a teacher who sees Axe and demorphing. So they're like, "Fuck, we're busted. It's gonna bring us to the cops, and we're gonna get anal probed." But not in the alien way, just in the getting finger blasted by cops way. And then Mr. Tidwell is
Oh,
like,
God.
"Don't worry, I'm a yerk." Fuck. No,
The kids are
no.
like instantly worried.
Yeah. And he's like, no. Don't worry. It hasn't come up yet, but there's a yerk peace movement, the YPM, and it's like, wow, yeah, it is weird that hasn't come up yet.
has that not come up yet?
There
I-
was
no,
the
I
first
don't
we
think
heard
so.
about it was book 19, where Cassie and Aftran talked about how there could be peace between one yerk and one human. And
Oh, but the
that's it.
actual
Yerk peace
organization
movement?
didn't exist.
No, did not exist. We heard none of it.
Okay.
This is the first we're hearing about it. This world operates independently of its main characters. It's so cool.
But, like, the main characters are part of this world, like, and actively, so it's kind of weird that, like, if this movement existed when Aftran said there can never be peace between yerk and human, I mean, there's these people who are trying it out, but obviously not. Like, it's weird that they didn't mention that.
It's been 10 books since Aftran and Cassie first met, right? I think this is a new development that has only been started in the last 10 books.
That was my impression also.
I don't think so either. From the description of the yerk homeworld in one of the Chronicles books, I got the impression that the yerk's political situation was a little more complicated than that. But I would have loved to have seen inklings of this further down the road.
There was, in Dork-Bajir Chronicles, there was some yerks that hated the thought of, like, when Esplin, after being in with the Ged for the first time, and he became obsessed with getting eyes, there were some yerks that said that the infesting process was disgusting and horrifying and they never wanted to do it again. So I feel like there were, like, maybe murmurations, but yerks were just too scared to talk to one another about this because, hey, what if you're, like, a yes man for Visser 3 and you're going to kill me. I don't want to do that. But it actually became a formal movement when some of them got together and had whispered secrets. Like maybe, there's this one Yeerk who is no longer infesting anybody, and they kind of find out about it, and they're like, hey, wait, who's Aftran? What's this about?
Speaking of Aftran! Speaking of getting off track, speaking of Aftran, he has a message from Aftran. Aftran's been fucking captured! Visser 3 got her, and they're holding her for interrogation in the Yeerk pool, and they gotta save her ass. Axe continues to get sicker and sicker. They get him back to the barn, and he tells them he's got a gland in the back of his brain that's all flary, and normally it's not a big deal. I feel like it's like a brain appendix is what is my impression of what it was. Did anybody else get that?
I mean, it's the only way it makes sense because they do. Well, we'll explain it in a bit, but they basically say like we have to take it out for him to live. But it's like, there's very few organs that you can do that with that are not vestigial in some way, right?
Yeah, I don't know of any parts of your brain that you can take out without living.
I mean, I'm sure there's, like, define living, I guess, being exactly the same when you're done. Yeah, I don't know if there is anything like that.
But yeah, there's this part of Axe's brain that is swelling and, like, putting out too much juice. And he's like, it's making it hard for me to morph. But even worse, it's gonna fucking kill me. We need to literally do brain surgery. And so they get Eric to watch Axe, tell them how to get into the Yeerk pool. They morph eels, and they go through the water system, starting in a water tower. Which is actually, like, now that I think about it, a really clever way to get around the city without getting noticed. Just, like, hop in a water tower and be a very fast fish. You can be literally anywhere in any given town within minutes. Right. They need to cut out Axe's whole fucking brain. So they go in a water tower, head to the water. They get all messed up because Jake's fucking sick now. Axe.
As an eel, and he gets confused.
Yes. They can't remember the directions. They need to abandon ship, or abandon pipe, and they fly up a water drain, or just like the first thing they find, and they end up getting shot out of a fire hose into a fucking fire. It's metal as fuck.
Can you imagine being that firefighter? You're fighting fire, and then eels come shooting out of your hose.
I don't think they would notice, though, would they?
No, the water pressure in a hose is extremely hard and fast. It's amazing that those eels weren't ripped to shreds.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a pressure washer.
Imagine that being just like being a firefighter, spraying water on a fire, and then suddenly just a bunch of blood and fish guts come out with like a bunch of eel heads on the end. Like it feels to me like did you guys ever play The Darkness?
Oh, I've seen it.
It's a first-person shooter where like you get like these powers from evil shadow beasts, and it manifests as these two like eely snake heads that eat the hearts of your downed enemies.
Pretty great.
It's pretty fucking awesome. Make it out, get Jake home while looking after Axe. The next day, Rachel is sick. Mr. Tidwell tells Cassie that V3 is moving up his visit, so they need to act now. They don't have any time to waste. Marco gets sick on the way to the fucking barn, the pussy bitch. You get cucked by Rachel at the top of this book, and now this shit! Marco, god damn it, step it up!
I mean, it's a viral infection. Like
I feel like the kids get the flu. Like Axe is actually sick, and then coincidentally, all of the kids get the flu at the same time, except for Cassie, who we can only assume didn't get it because she got her flu shot. Hopefully everyone got their flu shot.
Did you guys also think that Axe got sick from the punch? That's what I assumed the whole time. Because like he drinks the punch and then he's like, I feel sick, and it's like someone spiked the punch.
Someone spiked the punch.
That would be hilarious.
Like, well, because what's your explanation?
That he got sick, dude. Sometimes people just get sick.
Yeah.
For plot convenience reasons.
That's a real like 90s sci-fi reason to get sick, I guess. But
I
anyways.
mean, they wanted Cassie to have an adventure on her own because she's badass.
I mean, it does lead to one of the coolest like high pressure moments in the entire series, I think. But anyways.
Marco gets sick, totally cucked by the cold. Come on, step up. I've been rooting for you. Tobias gets sick and Cassie puts him in a fucking cage. Like a
That's
common
ableist.
animal. Jesus.
That's ableist.
And then
Do
he's
that to
so
your
mad.
friend?
He's like gnawing on the bars with his
Pretty
little
funny.
bird beak. And she's just like, shut up. Shut the fuck
Yeah.
up. I've had it
Yeah.
up to here.
Before I forget, because like there's a lot at the end of this book that might keep us for a while, I'd just like to mention near the end of the book, when everybody's well again, Tobias is like, I don't know if Cassie's dad is actually a vet, guys. He tried to shove a pill up my... And
I
then
know.
gets cut off. Dude, Cassie's dad tried to finger bang a bird.
I think on this podcast, the style guide should be finger blast.
Do you think he made like a pew pew noise as he did it? Pew pew!
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Open wide, little red tail.
When I was a kid, I just assumed that meant shoving a pill up his bird nose.
Wow, that is innocent. Yeah.
And Marco's big gripe is that his dad gave him baby aspirin. Baby aspirin. Like for a baby.
Come on, Marco.
And then Tobias slowly cries a little more and realizes that, like,
Nobody cares
oh
about
no,
him.
nobody believes him.
No one ever believes a survivor.
That's too dark, you guys.
Yeah, that's pretty
That's
dark.
really
Yeah,
fucking dark.
I thought the aesthetic of it being a bird would be enough to save it, but it
No.
wasn't. Anyway.
He's still a little boy. in
So
there.
Cassie has a brilliant plan to sneak in, and she blows a bunch of controllers. And
Mhm.
But
and
also
then like keeps it-
acquires them.
yeah,
with
yeah,
her
and
mouth.
keeps it all in her mouth
Yeah,
and like
sure.
swishes it around, and then spits it onto one of those Gleet flesh seeker systems, and the Gleet flesh seeker recognizes her as all those different men she had come in her mouth.
Oh
And-
my god. The
She's
real answer to how
sad.
she gets through it is so much cooler than everything you're saying right now.
Just be real, Braden.
She leaves Eric with Axe, go save Aftran on her own, goes to Tidwell's and morphs his Yeerk, Ilum. They go to the Yeerk pool, and Cassie gets dumped in the pool and finds Aftran in like a little micro cage. Visor 3 shows up, and Cassie infests a controlled girl at the pier and completely sidewinds V3. Just fucking elbows up, runs on through him.
With her like 12-year-old, like her small girl body, like the girl she infests is like 10 or something.
Yeah, I don't get
Oh.
She
that.
pushes
yeah.
over an Andalite. It's amazing.
That's literally impossible. He has too many legs.
What if he was because he's aren't cows easy to push over? Does four legs make it easier or harder? Probably harder to push over now that I'm
Like, the thing about cows is they're super, super inbred.
As we know from 2 weeks ago when we covered book 28.
Yeah. She morphs an Osprey, grabs Aftran, V3, and the Taxons.
She demorphs to human in the Yeerk pool, surrounded by Yeerks, like hiding underneath the dock that they like infest and reinfest by, which is hardcore.
I mean, it's really it's pretty brave, but like it's just like a scene of waiting. I wouldn't call it hardcore.
I think the fact that she could stop a Yeerk from getting in her head is, well, I mean, on the one hand, it's like, could she actually? From like just batting them away. But also, if she did, pretty impressive.
These kids
considering
need to
how
start wearing earplugs more.
Yeerks can't see very well in their natural form. They just have the palps, and they have like a little bit of echolocation. So I don't even know if they recognized her as a host necessarily.
But I thought they could see well enough to know when their host's body is coming back to the pier.
No, I think they just get... My idea was, like, in headcanon, because they can connect to computers with their palps, is there's just some kind of, like, little broadcast of, like, Ilum 572 to the pier for docking, or something like that.
Yeah, what do the palps actually pick up? Like,
Probably electrical impulses? I'm thinking they gotta be kind of like whiskers.
Zeros and ones, the answer.
That's it, it's binary.
Anyway, they escape. They fly back to the barn with Aftran, but at the barn, Axe is like completely going out the window. Like he's sweating, he's grinding his teeth, he's like got a rock hard dick and is seizing at the same time. He's obviously trying to paw at it, but like can't. He's just gone too hard. His eyes are going crazy. He looks like that fucking guy in that Bounce by the Ounce video. Anybody seen that? Yeah?
No.
The main thing that happens when Cassie walks into the barn is Eric. Oh, so also Eric the android, they got him to look over Axe because once his temperature reaches this certain degree, what was it, 96.2 degrees or something, then
91.
that they have to do surgery immediately then. And as soon as Cassie walks back into the barn, Eric looks at her and is like, dun dun. So homegirl gets no time to breathe.
No, not even so...
Not even a little bit.
They go in to cut her open, because Eric is like, I'm the best, I would be the best option, but I literally can't get near him with a blade. It's fucking dumb. So Cassie just like...
pacifist training.
Cassie is just like, diaper up, grabs a scalpel, and starts slicing into him, and then Aftran is like, aha! Put me in, coach! Aftran just gets fucking shoved in Axe's ear, just... like stirring a bowl of mac and cheese. And
gross. That's what sex sounds like, I think.
Aftran spreads over Axe's brain and helps Cassie figure out what to cut out for the brain surgery, and like slows down his heart because Yeerks have a scary amount of control over you while they're in there.
And it turns out the answer to where it was actually like pretty fucking obvious. Like, it's exactly in the middle, right underneath the skin. I mean, it's not obvious, but it's like the easiest possible surgery you could perform.
It was in his skull. They had to take out a bit of bone from his skull. That's why she.
That's what I said. What did I say?
Drill. You said just underneath the
skin. You said beneath the skin.
Oh, okay, but I mean, like, she didn't have to go, like, push
rube.
folds of brain aside. It was just, like, right on the outside, you know what I mean? That's more what I mean.
That is actually very convenient.
Yeah, it totally is. Especially because human brains, like, don't work even a little bit like that. You can't just, like, cut a piece of a human brain out.
He's an alien.
What a simple organism.
So, the obvious problem now is that Aftran is gonna get murked in 3 days.
Brayden, you forgot the bit where, like, Axe wakes up and Aftran is like, oh, fuck, he's awake now. And he's freaking out because there's a Yeerk in his head. So she squishes on out and he, like, jumps off the table and Cassie has to, like, pin him wrestler style to get his little skull bone back in his head, and his skin flaps all sewed up.
Like that old story of the guy who, like, picks a cow up with his shoulders and body slams it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is going to be my next tattoo.
A guy picking up a cow and body slamming it?
Yeah, so Aftran dies. She dies pathetically and curses God. Tells all her friends she never actually loved them. Cassie is like, but Aftran, please, you need to get good with God. And she's like, fuck God. Fuck Jesus, too. Fuck Yahweh.
I just saw, like, a piece of art that was basically, a guy gets a terminal illness and he decides to be really shitty to all of his friends so that when he dies, they don't miss him.
That's sort of bittersweet in a way.
And it's like, whoa. And then he's stuck in purgatory listening to his friends talk about, like, why were you so shitty to us? That's not fair.
Okay. It paid off for him.
It was good art.
Yeah. Art. It was a comic book. Let's get real.
Hey, Archie comics can be art, Mikhail, okay?
But when it's you who makes it and then talks about it as though it's a piece of art on a podcast later.
Hey, shut up. I'm just trying to rep my own brand.
I can't wait to watch Riverdale again. The world's first show written entirely with predictive text.
What's the last thing that happens in this book? There's only really one more scene.
Aftran asks Cassie to kill her, and Cassie says, yes, please. But no. Cassie says no. Aftran is like, I will die horribly and see a bunch of scary-ass shit. Please, just don't let me suffer, yada, yada, yada. There's fate worse than death. And then they're like, we're just going to slap you on this cube, and you're going to turn into a whale and hang out in the ocean.
Also, like, wow. That's all you have to do, hey? Just have literally any creature touch it, and they gain morphing power. So
I guess
really no,
so.
Like, you don't even need, like, some kind of, like, a password, like, to activate this thing.
I mean, in the first book, you just had to focus on it at all. But yeah, no, I think, okay, so it's just in the barn. What if a wild animal touched it and, like, happened to focus on the box?
I assumed Elfangor, like, said something to thought speak to it, but then
That
when we
turned
hit
it
number
on?
but then when we hit number 20, they're like, let's give David the power. I was like, wait, what? Like, unless Axe knows how to do it, maybe?
I think it's like, because we've sort of established that Andalites 100% underestimate the power of morphing. They say themselves, soldiers use it to essentially just be smaller creatures that can hide. And
They
then
just use it for spying.
Yeah,
or
they
for,
use it for
theater
spying.
dance pieces.
Yeah, there's soldiers who use it to turn into small animals to spy, and then there's, like, artists who use it to do fun stuff. They have not done the V3, where they just go and acquire big, fuck you, like, fish that shoot literal harpoons, or, like, rock beasts that are immune to bullets. It just hasn't occurred to them for some reason, so I don't think they think, why would we try to protect this thing that can turn you into a weasel or a cool painting?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, really, if anything, it has to be something that touches it, focuses on it, right? Otherwise, you think it would be protected. Like, it's in the barn. Some bug is going to crawl over and then get morphing powers. I don't think so.
Okay. Here's a devil's advocate counterpoint to that. At one point in 27, they're like talking about the security that the Chi have. I think it was 27, and they're talking about how like there's basically no security because they like trusted everything. And Axe is like, that's why they're extinct. Do you guys remember that?
Yep, that's their password for the Pemelite ship was not the Chi, but the people who made the Chi, the Pemelites. Their password was 6.
Arguably, the thing that the rest of the galaxy is jealous of the Andalites for having. They don't put a password on that. Who's the idiot now? Just saying.
Yeah, maybe it is password protected and like Axe has the password.
Well, see, that's the only thing that would make sense, that they just like don't show Axe.
Right? Like there's no way that you can just touch the cube and get powers, right? That would be way too OP.
I hope that's not it. Okay, so what do you guys want to talk about? Because that's basically the last, I think, is that the last part of the book, isn't it?
The last part of the book is they're all talking about how all the kids have recovered from being sick, and Tobias is like, oh my god, Cassie's dad should not be a vet. I'm so sorry. I totally had a bad slip of the tongue there where I mixed up the word Cassie and dad, and it became something awful.
Cad? I actually didn't hear what you said.
Thank God. I hope no one else did. Yeah, so basically this book inspired a lot of really good shipping between Aftran and Cassie. There was one that I saw where like Cassie also permamorphs a whale, and they just like have a Little Mermaid like whale hangout in the ocean for the rest of the time, and that's pretty cute. Just being great ones together.
Oh god.
Who wants to be a fucking whale? They constantly have bullshit headaches because airplanes have radios that are like constantly going right into their skulls that hear like supersonic noises. Whales are in constant pain from the day they're born to the day they die in the modern era.
Now, do we know that, or do we just think that?
No, yeah, we do. Like, we know that radio signals get picked up by...
Know that, or
I
do
swear
we
to God,
just
Tessa.
think that?
I swear to God!
Ay.
I mean, okay, so you're a slug. You know how to swim, but you have never really seen anything cool. Being a whale would be great, because then you could go see, like, you can go travel the world because whales migrate. You gotta go see, like, the northern Canada, and then go down to Mexico and then see some of the reefs around Australia. And also, you're really big, so nothing's gonna fuck with you because you're a humpback whale.
Do you guys think that it's dumb that the Chi can't perform medical procedures?
I mean, they don't need to on each other because they're androids, and they haven't really had human helpers at all, so they haven't had a need to.
You say that, but then also they take care of legions of dogs who are prone to get sick through inbreeding, right?
Maybe they can do dog surgery, but they can't do it on sentient people.
Yeah, there's nothing in the rule book that says a dog can't get surgery.
The Chi could totally fix that big question from book 28. Just point to Chi at different ranges of monkeys and be like, okay, try and perform surgery on him. And when the Chi stops, you know that the animal's sentient. The Chi won't hurt him.
Interesting.
Wait, so you think their pacifism has something to do with sentience?
Well, does it? Do Chi
I don't
watch
think so.
out with, do they worry about where they step if they're going to walk on a bug and kill it?
Well, that's a good point.
They're probably, they're robots, so there's not really any reason, as a robot, there's probably not any reason that they actually have, eyes in the traditional sense. Their eyes are probably for show, and they probably have, sensors just over their whole fucking body.
Oh, yes, maybe they could sense where the bugs are. But then, wouldn't they have erratic feet movement? Or maybe they just move too fast, we don't see them.
Yeah.
I love this. You guys are just, explaining away the problem.
Just fan-fictioning it up.
Yeah, I like it. So anyways, I think it's pretty stupid, because if, the point of pacifism is to reduce violence, or if it's to reduce violence, then I understand it. If it's to protect life, then it doesn't make any sense that they can't do, medicinal things.
I think it's literally do no harm taken to the biggest extreme.
But and then the question is, do no harm to who?
Well,
right?
I feel like they wouldn't even be able to feed somebody pineapple, because pineapple breaks down the enzymes in your mouth.
Okay.
And they know that that's harmful, so they would be like, oh, no!
So I guess we're not going to talk about the disease part of it, the actual sickness part of it, because you guys just accepted that it's a flu or something.
I feel like literally the kids get the flu, and maybe it's Axe is sick with the human flu, but then that triggers his. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking about it. Axe gets sick with a human flu while in his human morph, because his human morph doesn't really have any antibodies against anything. But then that triggers when he demorphs, it triggers his thing in his little andalite head that makes his andalite brain appendix sick, but he passes off the flu to the other humans. But Cassie is the only one who got her flu shot, so she's safe. Get your flu shots, kids.
Okay,
that's the moral here.
That is quite the theory. I assumed just the way everything works in these books is that it's not just a coincidence. It's something was happening. Maybe I'm just biased after reading 27, and it's a whale shows up on the beach.
Because Crack was shifting the tide so much in 27, it turns out that the Elemist is behind this cold.
Yeah, maybe it was just an accident.
You made Jake barf.
Technicolor yawn.
God, whenever I get sick, I think of Marco's list of terms for puking.
Yeah.
And it does not help anything.
Technicolor yawn's my favorite, 2-word.
Very good. But the rest of them, Cassie just in her head begging for any other topic of conversation. Bless your baby bones, Axe. Bless your baby bones.
I mean, that's pretty good. That's really good.
Do you think Axe is legal in terms of andalite age?
In terms of sex?
I don't think so, because none of the human kids are legal either, and I think he's the same age as them. How old are they right now? It's halfway through the series. They started when they were 12, 13. I think they're 14, 15 right now.
I don't think they're that old, do you?
I think
15?
they're at least 14 and a half, 15. I think that.
Okay.
No, I think closer to 14. Maybe just about to turn 15. They've definitely been fighting for a year.
Nowhere near any kind of legal age. Unless you're talking about the one where it's minors sleeping with each other. In which case, I think they actually are, depending on the state.
No, I thought you had to be 16 to sleep with each other.
I think it actually is really dependent on the state. I don't obviously really know these rules either, right? But I'm pretty sure some places are as low as 12 and stuff. It gets pretty gross.
Brayden, have you guessed what state they live in yet? You haven't done that in a while.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a coast.
What, because they're by the ocean? They could be in the middle of the city, in the middle of the country with the ocean there. Come on, Brayden. You ever heard of that inland ocean called the Great Lakes?
Now, that's not a thing.
That's a government conspiracy. I mean, basically. I had a good conversation actually on Facebook with Kevin, who I'm not even sure he even listens to the show, but definitely we argue a lot on our Facebook page about stuff. And one of his points, because I had made some meme a while ago now about how like it doesn't matter what the thesis was. There's no good reason why Yerks need to have hosts at all, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like, why couldn't they just figure out a way for, like, Eric to rig up a fake Kandrona and have Aftran live in a pool in their underground park?
Fake Kandrona is probably a pretty tall order.
I mean, that's what Eric does. He's zapping him, like, the Yerk in his brain with fake Kandrona.
Yeah, I mean, also the fact that the technology exists already should make it pretty easy for him to rig it up, right?
I feel like they give her the chance to Nothlit so that there's no chance that Visser 3 could capture her again, and also so that she can see and doesn't have to be a sightless Yerk, because that was her big thing in book 19, right? Was like, oh, Cassie, if you don't want me to ever be in a host again, you're condemning me to a life of blindness. And she really liked seeing things.
But also she's like, now she can't help, right?
She can keep an eye on in case there's more like ocean crime, like book 15.
Ocean crime, yeah, sure. I guess it is frequent enough that we need a out of office agent.
Also, maybe she doesn't want to help, right? Maybe she doesn't want to help.
Pathetic.
Okay, the idea of Axe just like slightly morphing Andalite in and out was, for some reason, just way more horrifying than any of the other descriptions of morphing to me. And I think it's because it just focuses on the meltiness of his human body.
Yeah.
Like, his lips keep melting together and then popping back. And it's like that scene in the Matrix movie where he doesn't have a mouth anymore. And it's just awful.
That is really quite terrible. Them describing like his front legs erupting out of his body and slamming on the ground. It's like, oh, goddamn sick. I don't want to hear about that.
For some reason, it felt so much more graphic than any of the other morphing scenes. And like, they never shy away from being super gross, but it just, it was it felt really bad.
I felt naked reading it.
Like, naked and afraid?
Just naked. Not afraid.
Was it because you were already naked?
No comment.
Oh. This is a good book, y'all.
I did actually like this. It didn't have a lot of moralizing, but it did have a lot of cool shit.
And then, like, Cassie bird poops on the Gleep biofilter so it can't see her and zap her.
That was the only part that I was actually a little bit like, what? Okay.
That's dumb.
Is that how that sensor works also? Because that is fucking flawed as hell. Like, you can just put your finger over it and it's like, oh, darn it. You're clearly a Yerk.
I think it's just like a floating webcam. I think it was just like a floating webcam that looks at you.
That's so dumb.
Yeah, the Yerks are dumb.
Oh, here, I had a question here. Why didn't Cassie let Mr. Tedwell control his own body when she went into his head? Because he would know.
It's a kink.
Okay.
But also, I feel like there's different levels of Yerk control. So when a Yerk first goes into the brain, they just take control and that's it. And they have to work to give control back. They have to work to resume control if the host is fighting against them. And they have to work to, like, control some of the other functions. I feel like if a Yerk was strong enough or practiced hard enough, they could work and stop someone's heart. Because, like, Aftran was able to slow down Axe's hearts and, like, figure out physiologically, like, what was going on and help calm him down.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy. Like, try to lower the fever? Like, what? You're not supposed to be able to do that. But I feel like, yeah, a Yerk, because its whole being is created to come in and take control of a brain, they have to work to relinquish that control. And, Cassie just didn't have time to practice that. That's the excuse I'm going with.
Because I guess the other part of it is just like, so presumably from what we've seen from Yerk's narrating and stuff, is that you can search a host's body and let it do what is most natural to it so that you'll fit in, right? So Cassie, like, being clumsy and stuff seemed really weird to me.
And maybe it's like when you first morph a bird and like you have to take control of the bird instincts and you're like, okay, what the fuck? But then you let the bird fly so that you don't have to know how to fly. Maybe it was something like that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, like, if we take your explanation to be the real explanation, that does explain a lot. Like, you're right, maybe it is evolutionary. I think there's also a lot of shit that we just, like, don't know about the Yeerks that would explain. I did think we got a lot of clues as to their biology in this book particularly, though. Like,
yeah,
Cassie describing, like, spitting, what is that, like, numbing cream or something in the ears?
like squirting numbing cream in the ear canal.
Yeah.
And she also, when she infests, like, when she just, like, steals that little girl to go after Visser 3, she works really hard to contain her own self, because when a Yeerk goes into a mind, they know everything about the host, but the host can also learn a lot about the Yeerk too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
she's like consciously puts that barrier there. So yeah, like you're right, we totally learned a lot about Yeerks.
We totally learned a lot about Yeerks, but not enough to really answer any arguments you have online. Arguments? I said that right.
You did say that word weird. One idea I had, so the inside cover of this book shows Aftran in the corner in a little cage, and it's like a regular cage, it's just square and it's around her. In the book, she's described as being wrapped around with these little wires, like hairs around her, and I was thinking they were just like wrapped tight to her body was what they were, and not that she was in a cage. I was thinking it was just, I always imagined it being wrapped up all around her.
Well, we learned a while ago that the art and, like, the covers and the titles were
Nothing to do with the authors, yeah.
well, they were decided on after reading the outline. So it's very likely that the outline said something like Aftran is, like, trapped in a cage in the Yeerk pool. And then when the writer was writing it, they're like, well, come on, let's give us some flair, right? If they can get super small, we got to find a way to create a cage that doesn't let that happen. But the artist is probably just like, I don't know, pretty chubby. Probably couldn't get through these bars. Right?
That's a chubby slug. Probably can't get through these bobs. Hey, Gino, I got a slug cage. This fast slug can't get through these bars. Ed,
Yeah,
you did a good job in the cage there, man. We gonna get paid the big ones for this.
The big one. Well, that turned into, like, Mario at the end.
Put that fucker in a cage.
Okay, we're running out of time.
But damn.
Oh, yeah.
One of the
Once
most
upon
romantic
a
things that's
time.
ever happened in this book, aside from book 26 when they actually kissed.
This was a more, like, generally great, like, everyone involved OTP, I think. Rachel and Tobias, Jake and Cassie, Marco and Axe. That's a real bromance. Hey, I learned a word. I got a real
Everybody's
bromance with this
dancing,
glass of water
dancing.
I'm drinking right now.
I got a real bromance going on with my own dick.
Would you say you have a rad bromance?
I'd say it's fucking rad as hell. Yeah, there's not much more to say about the OTP alert other than just, like, scene wise, it was very good, I think. Anyways.
Also, Rachel is just like the biggest wingman ever because she is forcing Cassie and Jake together all the time.
Yeah, and they even have like a Pulp Fiction moment where Jake and Cassie are dancing, and, like, you know that once they zoom out of the slow-mo, they look like fucking tools. But in the slow-mo, they look amazing, right?
That's in Pulp Fiction? I don't know, I've never seen it.
But I like that you express surprise at, like, well, I don't remember that from a movie I've never seen. Anyways,
I've never seen.
No, that happens with John Travolta and Uma Thurman.
Oh, when they're doing the twist?
Yeah, and it's
It
very
zooms
much
out
like
and they look like assholes?
No, that's like a workaholic joke. But there was definitely a long scene where John Travolta and Uma Thurman dance together. Anyways, I'm explaining this point way too much.
I need to watch Pulp Fiction again.
Can we talk real quick? This is 3 more minutes. This is 3 more minutes. 3. Finally got a new Visser 3 morph, and he's this floating eyeball with tentacles, and it's
Yeah.
awful. It sounds like a D&D monster, and I hate it.
It's pretty stupid.
Also, Visser 3 is just like the Swiss Army man of morphing. He's got a new morph for every occasion.
But it's also just like, hey, you have like 3 morphs that would probably be good in every occasion.
I guess he can't be Trent all the time.
Why not just morph the 8-dragon?
Right?
Like every time.
Give me some hentai fuck beast.
That was definitely like the best they did. Like Visser 3 did all this series. Like the 8-dragon turned them into fucking child salad.
Tom punched him. Remember that? Tom punched the 8-dragon. Anyways.
He is so strong.
Next week in our bi-weekly episode of The Speaking Tree, we'll be talking about how would we extract a single yerk from the yerk pool if we had to act completely on our own. And by that I mean one person us together. But the 3 of us together could do it in a heartbeat.
Oh my god, it'd be so good.
We'll also be talking about how would we use morphing to get what it is we want out of a junior high school dance. And in My Life, My Morph, we're going to talk about how we would use an eel morph in our own life for purely personal reasons. Tessa, where can people find more of our stuff?
Our stuff is on our podcast page at collectivelegacy.org. And we've also got Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and Facebook.
Remember to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, or else I'll speak in this voice every single episode.
You can show your support for our show at our Patreon page, patreon.com/DORKBAJIR.
We offer special bonuses for patrons, like access to our Discord server, Animorphs essays, written by us, and much, much more.
And one of those much, much more things is a shout out at the end of every episode that we give to those patrons that are Dork-Bajir level or higher. And we give them an Animorph style title. Put a little stank on it. Starting with...
I'd like to give a shout out to Mariah Wamby, the voluntary yerk host, but who is also a resistance fighter.
Greg Della Posta, the best dancer at the middle school dance.
Shanna, the alligator who ate that baby.
Seam Driven, the ooh ah, ah.
And Yanka, the Technicolor yawn.
And Andrew Vella, that meme girl who almost got eaten by a seal.
For the Fanimorphs, my name is Mikhail, the host.
My name is Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden, and I regret nothing.
And this has been Fanimorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
It's okay, Braden. I regret enough for the both of us.
Hey.
My life is a catalog of regrets.
My life is a stereo. Turn me on and let's go.
Let's go.
In the back of my Dragula.
Whatever happened to our song? Whatever happened to...
Is that Dragula?
I don't think any of those songs were the same ones.
Hi, hello, welcome to the ad for the show. I'm Mitch, the host of Whack Talk Radio. On this show, I talk to interesting people about interesting things. Do you need to know more than that? Okay, fine. Pretty much we'll talk about whatever my guest is interested in or passionate for. Sometimes it'll be silly, sometimes serious, sometimes a bit of both. Whatever the topic is, hopefully we'll find a way to make you that much more of an expert about it. You can find us at collectivelegacy.org, along with some other equally awesome shows on our network. New episodes of Whack Talk Radio are every Sunday and Thursday, wherever you find your podcasts. Let us know what you think on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Whack Talk Radio. That's WENGH Talk Radio.
Whack Talk Radio.
Brought to you by
Collective Legacy,
a podcast network.